several decades ago, and if I think about my siblings, my brothers and sisters, because of my parents who really strongly believed in the power of education and had a good work ethic. My brother's an engineer, my sister was a nurse, and I think I'm in a not a bad job actually. So I think we've made, through education, a really positive impact on society, and that's why I think immigration is a good thing all round. Recognise it comes with some problems, you know, it's not the panacea for all ills, but I think that it is positive by and large.
Just to follow up, just because it is an interesting topic, what can, just for any of the panelists, what can we do to foster greater harmony and integration within the community as a college? I mean, what can we do to sort of bring people together around that issue? Any ideas?
I think one thing is to try and debunk myths where you see things sometimes in the populist press that suddenly becomes generally accepted, you know, that, you know, all people from, I don't know, where can I say, all people from Yorkshire, I will say this, you know, all people from Yorkshire are mean or whatever, and you get those terrible stereotypes and myths, and I think we could do something about sort of making those clear, the difference between the reality and perceptions in some of the populist press, I think would be important.
Okay, yeah, Margaret?
I think we've got a great opportunity through some of the programmes, activities, awareness weeks that Student Services organise with the Student Union to start to bring in an understanding. So opening a dialogue, sharing cultures. And we have done this in the past, and I think people in general are really interested to know about each other, but the media sometimes portrays things in a very limited way, and I think we have to question that and create opportunities ourselves to explore other cultures and what it means. So it'd be great to do more work around that.
Okay, thanks for that. I believe we've got a question from Beth.
What should students who have family members in the military do to remain safe?
I think that might be a question from Margot, or...
I can start that off by saying, I think, as we said earlier, the safety of all our students is important. So any sort of protocols, any safeguards we've got in place are for all students. So we would make sure we protect, as far as we possibly can, everyone. And obviously that would equally ensure the safety of young people whose family might be in the military. But if those young people have got particular concerns, and I could understand why they might do, then there's also the kind of safeguards in terms of people to talk to, somebody you can go to say in Student Service against Student Union, personal tutors, if you've got any concerns or worries as a person, a young person that's, you know, belongs to a family in the military. But I think the kind of protocols, procedures, safeguarding we've got in place will protect everyone as far as we can.
Okay. I mean, I think the important point about security is it is everybody's responsibility, and these are troubled times. But the other side of it is not to be terrorised, because that hands the terrorist the victory. So that's an important thing as well, you know, to get on with your life. Okay, so I think we've got a question from Molly, maybe for Maria. Molly.
So why are the prices in the shop in the canteen more expensive than places like Tesco's?
Oh, that's a really hard question, actually. I think that probably just comes down to basic economics, that you've got a small shop, albeit run by a contractor. We don't set the prices. Chartwells, who run the whole catering service for us, do, compared to a multinational company like Tesco's, who can afford, have got the economies of scale and the ability to sort of price a lot lower than they do. I think it's important you get as much choice as possible, and it is important actually that any feedback that you have about the facilities, or like the refectory, that, you know, you're feeding back to your star representatives so that they can tell us, so we can put more pressure on the contractors to offer more things, because they always try to offer a sort of daily deal, but recognise it might not compete with the likes of Tesco's, I think.
Okay,
It's my understanding that the cost of the goods in the shop, etc., are the recommended prices. So they're not inflated prices, so they don't make a huge profit. I think that's just, but as Maria said, because they're a smaller concern, it's difficult to compete with places like Tesco's.
Okay, so we've got a question from Sharma, again for Margot, I think.
No lockers?
Yeah, no lockers.
Oh, I'll just pass this, why not?
Bad luck.
Not allowed to do. Right, there's a real history with lockers. We've had lockers way in the background, time's gone by. And the problem we've had with lockers in the past is that they tend to get broken, the keys get lost, they're hard to manage. And in fact, where students, some students will have lockers, for example, hairdressing students because of uniforms, etc., some of our catering students. It's a problem or an issue that we've looked at umpteen times. I think it's a logistic thing as much as anything. Lockers just don't last very long. They get broken very quickly. If you were to get and look at the ones in A block at the moment, besides student services, they're all looking a bit tatty. So it's difficult to have them around. But I do understand it's an issue. I don't know if Maria or Asfa want to add to that.
Nothing.
The long-running locker
yeah,
saga.
it is, and I appreciate that.
Okay, so we've got time for just one more question, which maybe brings us back to something we've discussed previously, but just, it's a useful way of ending things. This is a question from Taylor for Maria, but if the other panellists want to contribute to this, because I think it is a question that affects every budget manager within the college.
Recent budget cuts, how will the college be affected?
Okay. As I've mentioned before, there have been successive budget cuts over the years, and although in the recent comprehensive spending review in November, the cuts proposed were not as bad as we had anticipated, inevitably the college over the next few years is going to face increasing costs. So even though we might be getting a similar amount of funding in, our costs are going up because of national insurance contributions, pension contributions, etc. What it does is it means that the college, and as Toby said, all the budget managers and budget holders have to look at ways of delivering the service as efficiently as possible, as they possibly can, whilst at the same time being really innovative of how we develop and deliver the curriculum. So it means making sure that we're still delivering or growing areas where there's potential and growing funding, like apprenticeships, providing there are opportunities in the marketplace. It means about being creative about how we deliver the curriculum and having more blended learning with more IT and online learning for the students. And it means finding ways of working in partnerships with other organisations where working together you get some kind of synergy, and there may be some project you couldn't offer on your own, but working together it becomes more effective to do it. So I think it's about being creative and recognising that the college that we have now will not look the same in 2020. And we've got to have an open mind and work really hard at making sure that, although there might be some back of house impact, if you like, we've got to be a bit leaner in some of our administrative processes, that we're still offering a really full, exciting, creative learning experience for the students, but maybe it's delivered in a different way.
Okay, did you want to say anything about budgets? And
I think
feel free.
The only thing I would like to add is that, as Maria's covered most of it, but just to re-emphasize that as senior managers of the college, we are looking at more efficient ways of working without having any negative impact on learner experience, and that is a key focus. There's a lot happening in the background, and managers or people could be easily driven away from the key job, which is, we're here to offer you the best learning experience, and that is what our key focus is during these tough times.
Okay, so there we are. Budget is something like security. It's something that we can all contribute to in terms of not squandering resources. So it's something that students can play a part in as well. How many printouts do you need? because at any one point in time there's only so much cake, and we need to use that as efficiently as we possibly can. So there we must end this first ever televised Ask the Principal from Havering College. If you like this, there's more tomorrow at 2:30 when students from this college and a variety of our partners within the borough will be asking politicians a series of questions in the 5th edition of Havering Asks. We've got a really exciting panel lined up for tomorrow. We've got Ivana Bartoletti from the Labour Party, Craig Bennett, who's a senior leader, the Friends of the Earth, Rania Hafez from the University of Greenwich and the Muslim Institute, and our own former student and local MP, Andrew Rosendale from the Conservatives. So for now, thank you very much and goodbye. Thanks for watching.
The fashion course at Havering College equips students to become fashion designers, to be practitioners within the industry.
I'm studying the HNC fashion at Havering College, and it's a one-year course, and I'm going to continue it for another 2 years, which I'm going to move on to a HND, which is a 2-year course, and at the end I'm going to get my degree for it.
On this course it's a bit more advanced, and you learn a lot more in a short period of time, which I quite like.
Students will learn pattern cutting and construction, draping, illustration and presentation skills, all the skills that they'll need to develop a professional designer and take those skills into industry.
I think the key really has been like pattern making has like opened up like a lot of things that we can learn to do, which I have never really learnt before this, pattern cutting skills, which is great.
So far we've just completed one project, which is our black and white spring-summer collection. We recently had a photo shoot for it.
The Centre of Creative Arts at Havering is unique in that it's a creative hub.
Apart from fashion, we're doing like photography, print, like drawing classes.
Graphics, and look at different laser cutting machine, all their machinery as well. And we kind of like can interact with each other's different art fields, which is like a good way of learning different skills that you wouldn't just learn in a fashion college.
In the fashion studio, we have a variety of industrial machinery to industry spec.
The facilities are good because we've got enough machines to use.
Teaching at Havering College is more student-centred. The group sizes are smaller, therefore tutor and students can actually have a more personal interaction.
Because we have like not so large classes, it enables us to have one-to-ones with the teachers or staff that help us out with our work, which is great.
Lecturers at Havering College work in industry as well as lecture. That's a great and valuable experience for students.
It's been great. I've learnt a lot in this course, and I'm improving in the areas that I need to.
welcome to Just Saying.
This is Juliet Walsh.
And that's Sean Turner.
This is what's coming up on today's show.
We'll have an interview with a young aspiring fashion entrepreneur.
And a special baking session with us too.
Also, we'll be speaking to our film correspondent about the recent premieres in London.
And we'll be hearing an inspiring story of a young hopeful Paralympian.
Then we'll wrap this all up with an exclusive performance at the end. So first up, having London Film Festival finished just a few months ago, we thought we'd have a look into the world of film premieres. Our correspondent Chelsea Moore went to the Thor 2 premiere in Leicester Square.
Waking up to ash and dust, I wipe my brow and I sweat my rust. I'm breathing in the chemicals.
So we're here and we just went to the front of the queue to get our number. Normally when we come to premieres we get a wristband, but that doesn't seem to be happening at Marvel premieres. So we've got a number and I'm number 135, even though it's 7:30 a.m. And the people at the front of the queue have been here since 4 p.m. yesterday, and they camped overnight, and they said they had 2 hours sleep, and that's a bit extreme. Is this your first premiere you've been to?
Second. I went to Iron Man 3, but I've come with my friend, and she's been to 13 of them.
Oh,
So,
wow. Okay.
yeah.
And your costume, I'm guessing you're here for Tom Hiddleston.
Yes, yes I am.
Is it homemade?
Yeah, it's all homemade, and so...
How long did it take to make?
Been working on it 3 weeks before today, but pretty much 6-7 hours a day, so...
Oh, I'm really impressed, it is stunning. So we're finally in the pens. The time is 3:20, and we have about 2 hours and 10 minutes until people start arriving. There is a massive Thor hammer on the red carpet, and there's a big screen behind us that keeps playing the trailer, and I think everyone's getting really excited now.
I wipe my brow and I sweat my rust. I'm breathing in the chemicals. I'm breaking in, shaping up, then checking out on the prison bus. This is it, the apocalypse. Whoa, I'm waking up, I feel it in my bones. Enough to make my system blow. Welcome to the new age, to the new age. Welcome to the new age, to the new age.
And we got here at 7:30. The premiere was okay, but we didn't get to meet Chris Hemsworth, Tom Hiddleston or Natalie Portman. But we got to meet Christopher Eccleston and Josh Warden. I just want to go home and sleep now.
Thank you all so much.
Please welcome Chelsea Moore.
Is it true that's the first time you've seen that?
Yeah. Okay, let me get this straight. Okay, about the dancing.
Oh God, yeah.
I think that does need to be explained.
They were giving out free Lego. What would you do for free Lego? I danced in a massive screen to the whole of Leicester Square. That's what I done for free Lego, and I didn't win it. I didn't get it. Some stupid person that just turned up like an hour before it went live just got it because it was her birthday. How is that fair? I danced. I waited there for 12 hours and I still didn't get Lego. So yeah.
I thought you should have got it. You look like Beyonce.
Another thing that happened okay, at this premiere, Kat Dennings, who plays Darcy, she was coming along and I got her autograph, didn't manage to get a picture because she was being called to paparazzi, which is okay, fair enough. But she gave me her pen. Yeah, and then the girl next to me was like, can I borrow your pen? I was like, yeah, sure, can I get it back after? And she was like, yeah. And then when other people would come in, I wanted to write their names so I didn't forget who it was. When I asked for my pen back, she was like, get your own pen. I was like, oh, she gave me that pen. That was my pen. Kat Dannings gave me that pen. And she's still got it now. She's still got it.
Could have held that pen.
Tom Hiddleston. I love Tom Hiddleston. I am kind of upset that I didn't get to meet him, but she stole my pen. I didn't get the logo either.
So tell us, what did you actually think of the film?
The film was really good. It was a sequel, or it was a trequel to the first Thor and Avengers Assemble. It was brilliant, to be honest. It was my favourite one so far. Me personally being a massive Loki fan, Tom Hiddleston, hey.
Oh my gosh.
It's really heartbreaking for Loki's story, but at the end, if you like the bad guy, he comes out.
Spoiler alert. So you've been to a lot of premieres. How did this compare to all the
I
other
have
ones?
no life. I go to so many premieres. Like Juliet's come with me for a few of them. And
they're all the good ones. The ones that I went to.
We sit there for 12 hours because we get there really early. This one was the earliest I ever got to. We was there at 7:30 and we were 134. It was ridiculous, but I love premieres so much. The amount of people you meet, and now like the massive stars like George Clooney, I've met so many times that I'm like, he's a friend. I know him. I feel like I just like holler, like, hey, do you want to come Nando's?
Last time I went to a premiere, I needed the toilet so badly, I ran to McDonald's and there was the only toilet that was left was the toilet with no toilet seat. And obviously I went to the toilet and I was so happy to finally go. I literally had tears in my eyes. It was
She called me and when we was in the pens, she was like, I need to get out. She was telling like security guard and people were still arriving, like Matt Cardle turned up and she was like, no, I need to go to the toilet. And she was like, no, I'm gonna go, let me go to the toilet. And he was like, no, I'm sorry, I can't. She was like, no, I need to go to the toilet. And then she got out somehow.
I'm such a lady. Anyway, do you have any other films for our audience to see?
The Butler, I've heard really good. I think you've seen it.
Oh, I love it. I cried so much when I saw it.
Yeah, but that has great reviews. So I really recommend that. The Desolation of Smaug come out on
definitely.
Friday. I'm really excited for that. I'm not a massive Lord of the Rings fan, but I'm a big Benedict Cumberbatch fan. So if you're watching, give me a call.
Yeah, Juliet here has seen none of them.
I don't know what the fuss is about. Like
about Lord of the Rings. I meant Benedict.
No, I love Benedict, especially Sherlock. Anyway,
That's what I'm really excited. That comes out in the new year, just by the way.
Well, thank you very much, Chelsea.
You're welcome.
We'll be hearing more from Chelsea as the weeks go on.
Next on today's show, we have a completely new series of VTs. Juliet and me thought we would try out baking recipes and film us making them for all our viewers to see. Big mistake.
In this episode, we bravely took on the souffle.
Emphasis on brave.
With
Juliet
and Sean.
And today we're making
Souffle.
And the first thing you need to do before we do anything is wash your hands.
Hygiene is very important in this kitchen. Thanks, crew member.
A bowl.
Double cream.
Butter.
Caster sugar.
Dark chocolate.
Sugar.
Eggs.
Firstly, grease your ramekins.
Now heat your oven to 200 degrees Celsius, gas mark 7. Now we're going to melt the chocolate in the double cream in a pan.
Okay, so now we're going to put in
I
the
like
double.
that.
And now we're going to put a tablespoon of double cream.
2
Mr. Sandman, bring me a dream.
what just happened? We're instead going to put it in the microwave.
Now separate the egg whites.
Wavy hair like Liberace. Mr. Sandman, someone to magic beat.
Okay.
So Juliet's just whisking the egg whites until they hold this shape, and I'm going to put the chocolate in there.
Now make sure you put in the egg yolk.
Now this is finished product. Cooperative stirring.
Now you have to turn the oven down to 180 degrees. And now we're just going to pour it into the little ramekins.
Oh Johnny, oh Johnny.
Now I'm going to put it in the oven for 8 to 10 minutes.
Oh Johnny, heaven's
Why am I wearing
make my sad heart jump with joy. And when
We'll be back when it's finished.
So this is some chocolate sauce that you made earlier.
Moment of truth.
Actually, I'm quite
You go,
scared.
do you want to go first? Or should we just do it at the same time? Ready? Ready? Okay, just come back. Okay, ready?
Ready.
1, 2, 3. Ooh. Well, that wasn't what I was expecting. Ready? Oh wow, what a vehicle. Ready? 1, 2, 3. I think I put shell. Mmm.
Now, if you at home would like to make this lovely recipe, then please go to our website. It'll be down there.
That's all we have time for today on Baking with Juliet and Sean.
And now back to us in the studio. Fucking disgusting.
Oh. We hope you enjoyed watching that as much as we did making it.
These baking shows are going to be running every week, and if you have any ideas for future shows, please tweet us at JustSaying with the hashtag Baking with Juliet and Sean.
Now, as it's only 8 days till Christmas, we thought we'd start our own series of Christmas games that you could be playing at home.
In this week's episode, we'll be playing Who Am I?
Most of you at home will know this one. I'm going to write a name of something on a card. I'm going to put it on Sean's head, and then we have to guess what they are.
But we will put a Christmas twist on it. Let's get started.
Okay, should I put mine on yours first?
Yeah, go on.
Okay, I'm really... Where's it go? Okay, I found it. Okay, you have to look away because it's in black marker. Okay.
Ow.
Okay. But you have to, don't look at the screen. Okay, that's cheating.
Ready?
Are you ready? Okay.
Is it a person?
Yes.
Is it a singer?
No.
Is it an actor?
No. You can only ask a few questions, by the way, so...
Are they famous?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Really famous.
I think I've just guessed who it is.
Who do you think it is?
Wait, is this anything to do with Christmas?
Yes.
Oh, then I don't know who it is.
Okay, just keep asking questions. And if you don't get it in 2 questions, I'll tell you who it is.
Do you really like them?
Hell yeah.
It's not James Franco, is it?
No.
That's good. I can't think of anyone else you like.
They're my fave.
I'm trying to think what they're famous for.
They're so famous for being who they are. A bit like Oprah.
For being who they are?
Yeah. Do you want me to tell you who it is?
Yeah.
It's Jesus.
Jesus.
Yeah, that's what Christmas is all about.
Jesus.
Take it off, take it off. I put in a little arrow as well.
Because I'm
just to-
Jesus. Yeah.
Basically.
Right,
Okay.
you ready? Close
Is
your
it hard?
Huh?
Is it hard?
No.
Okay.
You don't look at the screen.
Okay. I'm nervous.
There you go.
Okay.
Show them.
Okay.
You ready?
I can feel. Can I just adjust it a little bit?
Yeah.
Okay. Is it a singer?
No.
Is it male?
No.
Is it female?
No.
Oh, it's a bit of a plot twist. Is it an animal?
Yes.
I can't see you. Is it
animated character?
No.
Is it a real animal?
Yes.
To do with Christmas? Is it really obvious? Is it turkey?
Yeah.
Bam! I won that one because I got it.
Because it was hard to say whether it was
turkey,
like food
yum.
or... Oh, anyway.
Now, some of you may notice more and more people are making their own clothing lines, and we thought we would give you an insight into the people that make them.
A student at Havering College, Roy Katolski, who has been working on his clothing line R&E for a number of months, is going to do just that.
The whole idea came from when me and my friends, were at college looking at other clothing brands, and my friends were like, "Oh, why don't you start another clothing line?" Because I had 2 before, and it didn't go, well. We had a lot of mistakes, and from those mistakes, I'm learning from it and trying to help R&E with it as well. And my friends came up with the name, Real Never Envy. And it means, being true to yourself, being real, and not worrying about what other people think. I see myself having a store, having a group, and helping out my friends and family as well. So this is not just for me. I want, my friends to be part of this as well. So, and I'll help them in whatever they want to do. Like if there's filming, anything. In a way, I can give them money to buy their own, equipment, from cameras to lights, to tripods and that. I don't really have a target audience. I wanted to appeal to anyone. I don't really worry about your sexual orientation or your race. I just want you to wear it because you like it, and I don't want no one to bring a person down and say, yeah, it don't suit you and that.
I love that clothing line.
I think it was brilliant, actually.
I've ordered a few of their shirts and I can't wait for them to come. However,
Where's this going?
I have heard that you have modelled for R&E.
Yes, it's true.
Are the rumours true?
It happened a couple of months ago, and he just asked me to do it, so I said yes.
The crew were trying to find the pictures, but we couldn't find it anywhere. But
You'll-
all we
you'll
know is
never
that you were
find them.
looking off into the distance dramatically.
That's how you model these days, isn't it? There you go. Now let's take a look at a very inspiring and moving interview with a young man who beat cancer and is now attempting to fulfil his plans of becoming a Paralympian.
How did the treatment affect you later on in life?
Say for some sports I'm not allowed to do. I'm not allowed to do ice skating, physical sports, contact sports. I'm not allowed to. But then I'm able to do my swimming. I can do whitewater kayaking because my legs are protected. And once I'm in the pool, that's swimming. It's okay on my legs, so it's safe.
Mm-hmm.
But say, like football, rugby, like contact, it's more too dangerous because of the operation that they've actually done.
Mm-hmm. What exactly was the operation to your leg?
I had the whole of the femur bone taken out and replaced with a titanium, and it's from my hip to my kneecap.
Okay. How did you become interested in kayaking?
Well, I've always been interested in kayaking because I've done it through Scouts, and I did it when I was younger. And my other friend, I was doing it and I ended up in a tree, and it was fun then. So I got back into it on my university course through one of my friends, and he was pretty cool. And he said, "You come down the pool, get down there," and I was still panicked the first time, but then, yeah, I got into it that way, and my friend's been helping it ever since.
Mm-hmm. How did you become interested in becoming a Paralympic kayaker?
It was all through the kayaking itself. I had my physio done, and one of the members of the kayakers asked me to join this gym called Cross Purposes, and the lady who runs it is a really good physiotherapist. She said, because of all my determination from hospital, I've got that I've got the potential to reach the Paralympic standards, but I've got to work hard on that, and yeah, I'm gonna work hard.
What do you have to? What sort of training do you have to do to get to that level?
I've got to go down all the white water courses. I've got to go to old Northampton's, the easiest one, which I can reach already. But I've got to go to all the Lee Valley White Water Centre and be able to run the practice course fine, the legacy fine, and then reach the Olympic course. And then I've got set one of the courses of there's set parts of the course which they alter, that I can learn how to do the tricks and the slalom.
So in the long run, are you glad you got cancer from everything that's come out of it?
Yeah, I wouldn't want to change it. I like helping now. I want to raise more, to do more. It's part of my life. Part of me's doing at hospital. You know, it's part of history.
So how was the charity? Can you tell us about the charity, what it is, what you did and everything like that?
Well, recently I went from Chelmsford University down to the Muldoon Estuary, which is a 50-mile paddle, and I done it in my little playboy, but I raised it through the Teenage Cancer Unit and Macmillan Cancer Support, because my friend from hospital, she sadly passed away, but 18 of my other friends also passed away as well. And, you know, the Macmillan Cancer Support was for my fiance's wife of her nan's, and, you know, I want to help, and I want to keep doing this every single year, every year to help. In the future, I mean, if I can keep training hard, if I can do, say, the serious side, which is the slalom, which is on telly, the slalom, got like on last year when we won 2 years before we won the Olympics, and they got all the gold, so I'd like to reach that as well, but in the Paralympic side, be good. I mean, that's the serious side, that's the side which will take more effort, more concentration, but this side is more crazy, more, you know, like a roller coaster side. It's more the fun side to it, so I'd like to get better at that as well. I'd like to go around the world with it, go to different places, like the Grand Canyon. That's meant to be one of the best. There's so many different places in the world that can kayak. No, I'd like to be one of those people to go down them as well.
Set the sails, I feel the winds are stirring towards the bright horizon, sail away. Cast your reckless dreams upon our Mayflower, a haven from the world and hurricane.
If you have been moved by this interview and would like to donate, or you would like to donate anyway, the website for Cancer Research UK is just a search away.
So that's it. We've come to the end of the show. We'd like to say a big thank you to our guest Chelsea tonight.
And we'll see you same time next week. Now playing us out, 1,000 Years. It's James and Jamila. Goodbye from us. Bye.
See you later.
That than pride. How to be brave? How can I love when I'm afraid to fall? But watching you stand alone, all of my doubts. suddenly goes away somehow. One step closer. I have died every day waiting for you. Darling, don't be afraid. I have loved you for 1,000 years. I loved you for 1,000 more. There's still beauty in all she is. I will be brave. I will not let anything take away what's standing in front of me. Every breath, every hour has come to this. One step closer. I have died every day waiting for you. Darling, don't be afraid. I have loved you for 1,000 years. I love you for 1,000 more. And all along I believed I would find you. Time has brought your heart to me, and I have loved you for 1,000 years. I love you for 1,000 more. One step closer. I have died every day waiting for you. Darling, don't be afraid. I have loved you for 1,000 years. I love you for 1,000 more. All along I believed I would find you. Time has brought your heart to me. I have loved you for 1,000 years. I love you for 1,000 more.
It's got two pathways. You can do drama or dance, and then you just kind of work like on topics and that to do with both of them.
HN qualifications are designed to be vocational and focus more on performance. So students will develop strong technique and performance skills in acting or dance, but in addition there are some transferable skills that they can take to industry or into employment.
I'm studying HND dance. It's various styles. There's ballet, there's tap, there's contemporary, there's jazz styles, and there's choreography. So it's sort of everything underneath the sort of umbrella of dance.
I'm doing the drama path, so that entails me to learn acting, learning lines, devise, being able to direct.
We do some written. We do like essays and things to like support all your performances, but it does focus mainly on performance, which is really nice.
We have sort of worked with the drama students to put on a performance and had to work to like devise a piece with the drama students, so there is sort of elements of working with drama and physical theatre as well.
Well, the facilities here are quite substantial.
Yeah, we have like the studio and the space and things. You can use like all the lights in there and everything. So it's really like you get the feel of working in an actual industry rather than just a classroom. And then the teaching staff, they've all got loads of experience within the working industry.
Confidence was my big issue, so I chose drama to get my confidence level up, and since the years I've been here it's helped me out a lot and I'm enjoying it very much.
I just think the learning side of it, I mean, it just opens your mind up and makes you think, makes you think that you can do it. And also I think the teachers all give you a bit of a push.
The best thing about studying at Havering College, I'd say, is the opportunities that you get working towards a show. And all of that allows you to make you feel like you're sort of constantly achieving and progressing.
I'm the course leader for the HNC and the HND in photography here at Havering College.
The course is predominantly for those students wishing to further their education in photography, so they would perhaps have a background in photography, although that is not always necessary.
I've been studying at Havering College for 3 years. I'm now going on to do the HNC course. Previous, I've been doing the National Diploma in Photography. The HNC course, I expect it to be more advanced.
I'm really loving the course. It's a lot more driven and it's more specific than like the past 2 years that I've just done, and it's really good because it's going to help to build a portfolio that we can go out and actually use into the real world. So I'm excited to see how the rest plays out.
The HNC course at Havering has been designed to help students become more commercially minded photographers. All the assignments are currently based around working in the fields of advertising, editorial, press and fashion photography.
As I've gone on to tell my tutors that I like fashion, they help me more in the studios, and the studio's always free to use.
The photography department at Havering College has a vast amount of space to work within. We work with a lot of traditional techniques as well, so we have 2 large dark rooms, lots of camera equipment for those of you who might be interested in film and developing that portfolio. In addition to that, we have 2 digital dark rooms.
One of the great things about working in this building, in the creative arts space, is that we have dancers, we have fashion students, we have drama students, we have graphic designers. It's a really, really creative space.
All the tutors, they've worked in the field, so they know what they're doing. They're really approachable, really friendly, and I just love all the people I'm with as well. It's just such a good environment to be in.
The HNC Media Production course at Havering College.
It involves different subjects such as radio, video, photography, advertising.
And sort of script written based work, research, but there's all sorts of little bits here and there that we get to dabble and work in, like internet media.
The course equips students with specific skills in relation to video making, photography and audio, as well as more general skills of working together in teams, demonstrating creativity, showing initiative.
In my opinion, I think it's really good at showing us different types of equipment that we can use and software that is industry standard, and also it's practical, so we know how a structured production would work.
The course has offered me practical skills, things I wouldn't have thought I would be able to do in the past, and the college and the course has taught me how to deal with these different challenges.
Everything we work on in the course can be used in our show reels. And the course itself actually got me on a 2-day-a-week internship doing post-production work and a bit of production work. So it has set me up as contacts in the future in the industry.
Another thing that we like to build in is a live exhibition of students' photographic work in a local gallery.
It's more of a way to get ourselves known and display our skills and talents.
The Creative Arts Centre is very well equipped. There's a lot of professional equipment that all of the students can use at any time.
The facilities are very, very good, and most of the tutors have been in the industry, so they know what it's like and they can tell you what it's like.
We can come to them at almost any time and they're always willing to listen and help us out.
So we have like very high standard tutors as well as equipment. I just think it's a really good place to learn and come to.
We went to Berlin to loads of exhibitions, to galleries, to museums.
Looking at typography and illustration, posters, architecture. Really interesting, yeah.
We got to really explore the city as well. We got on like the public transport.
Yeah, Berlin was very different compared to London. There was graffiti everywhere, like across the bottom of buildings. And
I was sort of inspired by like the actual experience, how people act differently when they're out of their normal surroundings.
My favourite part was probably the games museum, because I could see all the retro games from the 1970s and stuff.
The main one I liked was the Jewish museum. I liked how the architects tried to mix in the history into the building.
And reading the stories that affected my visit to the concentration camp.
Just being in that position and knowing all the history and actually visiting places that people, victims themselves have been.
Yeah, you don't really understand these kind of things in textbooks and stuff, but actually being there you have a different impact.
I was looking at kind of a loss of identity. They're all kind of seen as numbers, and there's even a thing with if I had any tattoos I'd be cut from them.
Well, I've got German sheets of German stamps, and I decided to gather some images. The idea is that I print over the top of the stamps.
I'd not really been to anything to do with like World War II stuff before, so it like gave me a different outlook.
There was so much and a wide range of different things for everyone.
I think it's definitely important to go and see other places.
It takes you out of the classroom setting. You actually go out and kind of explore different things.
you can just experience a whole different environment, another culture.
It makes like studying more fun. You're just ready to keep adding like the fresh ideas that you got from being somewhere completely different.
Every actor needs to be acting, and every student actor, I believe, learns the most when performing in front of an audience. We do mini productions throughout the year in the TV studio and in the drama studio. But to do a full production gives the students a fantastic grounding experience in what it's really like to have a live audience.
You knew it. You wanted to be punished. This leniency on the part of your parents may be the germ of your...
I was given the part of Nurse Ratchet, which is quite a mean character. It's in a mental institution, and she is the ruler. She's the big nurse of all these people.
I played R.P. McMurphy, Randall Patrick McMurphy. He was a lovable rogue character.
Ooh-wee, what have we got here?
That's Chief Bromden.
Story, Big Chief. He can't hear you. Deaf and dumb.
He's a character that comes across very strong in helping others.
Once the play is cast, we go into rehearsals immediately. And of course, students are holding their scripts for the first week, 2 weeks of rehearsals. It is very important for them to learn their lines very quickly. This is very much how it's done in professional theatre, and it will be expected of them to learn their lines very quickly.
I had to learn an American accent. Didn't really know, because I've never really done this before, so this was all new to me. So what I did, I looked on the internet, looked at a few films, and started to get different ideas. I tried one New York accent, never come across, and so I tried with the Southern drawl. I sort of took it from Forrest Gump, the mum, Sally Fields, from there, and just sort of tried to work from her, really.
Very good now, because of all the other characters I played have always been sort of funny. With this one, it's Death Row, it's more darker, and so I feel now, because I've never done it before, I feel that now if I got given again another sort of more serious part, I could do it easier than before.
I am the stage manager / assistant director. I just take notes on everything that happens. Like every rehearsal, I sit there and I watch it from an audience perspective, and I just write entrances, exits, everything. Basically, what needs to be written down in the script, I write. And then when Nick's not there, I end up just going over stuff he's already gone over, just to spruce it up.
We do, as much as possible, collaborate with other departments. For example, in this latest production, we had a dance sequence, so we had one of the dance tutors coming in to choreograph a scene there.
Well, I felt when we done the first performance, it was more that all of us were really nervous because it was the first show and it was opening night. It was right, got to give it a good, do a good job. But because of how nervous, there were still gaps and little mistakes that you could notice. But as it progressed through, as the nights progressed and afternoon, there weren't so much difference because we improved. It was we were always up to our game. Everything the notes we was given from Nick, it was right, okay, so there was no mistakes and no sort of gaps in between. The last one on Friday night, it was really, really good, so yeah.
It's very comical, but it can also be very sad, but I think it is a really good storyline, and it's very educational as well, I guess.
One of the most interesting aspects of doing this production was the diversity involved. Both in the characters, which of course I cast with the students in mind, but the students themselves. And it's a reflection of the possibilities that are here at the college.
My favourite thing about the production was the actual play itself, to actually do the play. I was very, very nervous, but as long as I got my lines done and as long as I had my lines in place, I was fine. But I loved it.
It's been really good. I really do like it.
Yeah, just performing it, I enjoyed it a lot. Working with everyone, we worked very well as a team. So yeah.
Would you mind bringing me a red hot? You have it there.
Trying to do it right. I've been living a lonely life.
Hello? Yeah, mate, I've got the stuff. I don't know what you want it for. What do you... Never mind then. Yeah, I'll get in that. Yeah, I'm going to come down now and I'll drop it off. Bye.
Hey! What are you doing here? Hey! What are you doing here?
front.
I help do gardening, like build a barbecue.
Painting, spray painting.
Painting the fences.
Doing gardening, planting seeds. Litter picking. Planting. Gardening.
Build a barbecue at the children's centre.
Or help participate in events such as the cleaning up at Thames Bridge.
And planted the middle at the Greyfields Park.
Seeds and that.
I've helped set up and plan with the Greyfields event.
And then I represent the Catch-22 to pick up an award for the best community space challenge in London.
Joining with my mates. Helping.
Making our community look good.
Having fun. And painting fences. That's what I just said. Painting. Fences.
There's such a kind of a negative press about young people and what they're doing to damage where they live and what they're doing to have a negative impact on the people and the places where they live.
The environment that we're in now is I guess some people may call it a concrete jungle because it's an estate environment, a lot of high-rise blocks, not very attractive.
I've always think, and I still think I'm really, really strong on that our young people have so much potential and talent. And I think it's a waste sometimes when you see a group of people just standing, young people doing nothing.
All we get from is that you're only interested in computer games and, football and nothing else.
The Community Space Challenge offers an opportunity to show the flip side of that, and that actually the majority of young people are perfectly good, active citizens able to give something back to their community.
Give them something to do, but also to demonstrate and highlight them in a positive role.
It was very important for me to listen to the young people. I didn't want to give just an opportunity without listening to them or involve them in decision making.
I spoke to a youth worker, Yanis, and he just got me interested in it.
Because I had a couple of friends already doing it and had already got their bronze award, and I thought it would help go onto my CV for the future.
I come around this area a lot, and I think there's too much rubbish around and it's too dull. It's like nothing to do. Like it just looks so dark and gloomy.
I thought it seemed a really good project, and it was going to enhance the community. It was local kids making their own community look better. So we've referred a few young people from the drop-in, and they've participated now within the gardening project because it's based on Heathwold with our local kids enjoying it, and they can see the improvement on there. They're really excited every week when they see and do something else with the painting, and it's gave them an opportunity to do things that they wouldn't have had a chance to do.
And I like the idea of getting volunteers to help promote and transform their spaces, because we all live here and we should be involved on how we want to live and what we want our space to look like.
The organisation I work for worked with Yanis and Catch-22 to develop a project which would help to put impetus and get young people involved with a new space called the Community Garden on the Thames View Estate. We worked in collaboration with a third organisation, the Sue Bramley Centre, and three organisations came together to create signage out of recycled wood and to create a mosaic for the barbecue in the community garden, working with the young people who use the youth centre on the estate. It really galvanised them to see that the community garden was not just for the elderly people on the estate, for example. It was just as much for them as it was for anyone else.
You know, just getting your hands dirty for a change was quite, enjoyable. When
the young people are doing that, they've got some ownership on that, so that if anyone tries to mess up, they can say, hey, leave it out, I plotted that.
The vision was to have young people, young children and families, grandparents just enjoying the garden side by side. And when all the volunteers came from Aviva, and just to see the whole community at work bringing the whole garden together, but I think the highlight was definitely the barbecue, the celebration at the end.
What's been really nice about the last 5 years is we've developed and we've grown, we've done different initiatives, and we've learnt more that it's not just about what the young people get out of it, it's about what the whole community get out of it. And where young people have been taking part, we've had older community members asking how they can get involved, and we weren't able to engage them as much as we wanted to.
Hopefully, with the help of Kent 32, we can carry on doing a lot of things.
What do I think mental health is? Mental health is well-being and being content with the situation, and probably being aware of yourself and how you feel, stuff like that.
They weren't related to me, but I've known plenty of people during my lifetime who've had mental health problems, and some of them have required hospitalisation, others have been treated in the community.
A lot of people come to see me and say, look, we've tried medication. Some people have tried CBT, which is recommended by the Department of Health for the treatment of depression, and they've learned that maybe they look at the world in a negative way, but that's left them feeling, well, why do I look at the world in a negative way?
My sister suffered from postnatal depression for some considerable period after her 2 pregnancies, and was very ill, to the extent where she didn't know where she was or what she was doing, and was suicidal, and she had a long period of psychiatric help. Personally, I've suffered from and do suffer from depression.
I think self-harm isn't attention seeking, it's attention needing.
Do you remember having negative thoughts at a young age?
I remember being in year 6 and I'd always kind of had like a flat stomach, and then I remember getting a kind of like, not even that rounded stomach, just it wasn't really flat anymore. And I remember looking at myself and thinking, God, you're so fat. I don't know why, I was just always remember pointing out my flaws, like I had really big bushy hair and I had a gap in between my teeth, and I just hated it. Like, I knew I wasn't one of the pretty girls. Like, even from a young age, it was very clear that they're the pretty girls and there's me, like, far away from them.
My own experience of depression, when I was a younger adult, when my children were small, I got depressed and I went to the doctor and I went through all the rigmarole of using medication which didn't work. And then I had therapy, which was the only thing that did work, that really helped me to feel better. And so once I'd had the therapy, I thought about, what do I want to do with my life now? Because I felt so different. I didn't just feel not depressed anymore, I felt really different, a different person. And I'd worked in HR for local authorities before, so it was all like paperwork stuff. But I thought, I want to work with people. And I'd had group therapy, and so I'd had the experience of listening to other people and enjoying that. And so that was when I got the idea that maybe this is what I wanted to do.
it's an illness. It's like you or I might get flu. It may or may not be treatable. It's like all forms of illness. There are some things that we know we've got treatments for, and other things we're not so sure about. So that's how I see it.
What does it feel like? Like, what goes through your mind when you self-harm?
It really does hurt. But then it's like I learned to kind of like flip my mind frame, and I'd be like, it's a good pain, and it suddenly wouldn't hurt so much anymore. And it feels like I can't describe it. It's like especially if it's quite deep, you can hear the skin rip, and I love hearing that because it feels like I've like done something right. Like because I know how much it hurts, and I feel like I'm strong for doing this in a way. And it's actually the complete opposite, really, because I think I'm like weak for giving in and doing it. And then seeing it, because mainly for like the deeper wounds, it doesn't bleed straight away. Like there's a gap, and you can see like the white tissue in your arm, and sometimes you just leave it because it's like this just gap in your arm. But then like the blood like slowly rises up, and it's entrancing in a way. Like you can't not watch it. I think the first time that I did it was at prom, and I hadn't. Every time I'd worn a dress for the past couple of years, it had been with a cardigan, which, you know, you can't always get a cardigan to match your outfit, so I'd generally go out feeling self-conscious because I'd be like, oh, my outfit doesn't match. And I thought, like, I just want to wear a dress on its own, and because I know that that was the only way I'd feel kind of pretty that night, is if I wore exactly what I wanted to. And I hadn't cut in a while, well, so there weren't really any scars. They were just scars, they weren't fresh. And I just thought, I'm going to do this. And because there was an organisation called the BCYS who were taking us to Lourdes, which is a place in France. And my best friend was kind of like, come on, let's do this, and we're going to wear swimming costumes, and we're going to look amazing. That was my motivation, to kind of clear up my arms and my legs. And that was why I didn't cut for ages. And I thought, well, prom was right next to when we were going away, so I felt confident enough that prom would be the first step. And I went, and I really did feel really beautiful that night. I couldn't even remember ever feeling beautiful before.
For instance, if you're going through a tunnel, you and I are in the car, okay? The car breaks down. After the event, I develop all kinds of problems with claustrophobia, but you behave perfectly normal, continue. Now, the issue there is not so much, we both experience the same trauma, but we remembered it differently. If you remember it differently, therefore, it'll affect you differently.
Dear Diary, this is the last one, the last entry. No more will come after. No more painful stories of my sad little life. They will understand why I did it. Once they see this, they'll understand. I tried to make this better. I try to improve myself. This morning I had that interview, you know, the one I told you about? It was meant to be a new start, a new future, to make me forget about my problems. But no, I failed again. I couldn't even answer a few simple questions. I can remember it so clearly in my mind. It's all there in black and white, clear as day.
So, what makes you think you're right for this job?
Well, I'm passionate. I'm very passionate about the job. I'm really well organised and things. I just really want to work.
Right. And what skills do you think that you bring to our team?
Well, I work hard. I'm very passionate. Very, very passionate.
Look, kid, I get that you're passionate. But do you even know what it is that we do here?
Yes, I do know. Well, actually, I'm not quite sure.
Right. Now, look, kid, I don't think you're right for us. You seem very upset and distraught. Maybe come back when you're feeling a bit better. And when you know what we do here. Sorry, kid.
Okay, I'm sorry for wasting your time. It's been 5 months now. I know I should try and move on, but I can't. She was so beautiful and meant so much to me. That day, the day I found her, she looked so cold, so helpless. She looked like she'd been gone for 100 years. I can't forgive myself. I should have stayed with her that day. I could tell she was unhappy. I guess I can never understand why she did it. The images of our whole relationship are right there in my mind. But so is the last moment I saw her. That awful moment. There is another problem. Recently, my parents, they've begun arguing frequently. It was getting worse until yesterday my mum announced they were getting divorced. I'd always seen them as a perfect couple, but I guess there is no such thing anymore. I remember how loving they were in happier times, but now it's over. I feel increasingly alone. My parents and she were the only ones I had. Now I feel so distant and I'm scared. Too scared to stay here. Too scared to keep living. At college, they all look at me. Their eyes linger and I can see on their minds that what they're thinking. What's wrong with him? Look at that freak. I can see it now. All their eyes on me. So many that I can feel them. I feel them all the time. So that's why, for those reasons and more, I can't take any more pain. I just want to rest and to be with her once again, hopefully. To anyone reading this, I hope you understand. I know it's hard to know why someone would do this. Trust me, I know. But I couldn't carry on. And for that, I'm very sorry. To Mum and Dad, I love you. Goodbye.
I threw a wish in the well. Don't ask me, I'll never tell. I looked to you as it fell, and now you're in my way. I trade my soul for a wish, pennies and dimes for a kiss. I wasn't looking for this, but now you're in my way. Your stare was holding, ripped jeans, skin was showing. Hot night, wind was blowing. Where you think you're going, baby? Hey, I just met you, and this is crazy, but here's my number, so call me maybe. It's hard to look right at you, baby, but here's my number, so call me maybe. Hey, I just met you, and this is crazy, but here's my number, so call me maybe. And all the other boys try to chase me, but here's my number, so call me maybe. You took your time with the call, I took no time with the fall. You gave me nothing at all, but still you're in my way. I beg and borrow and steal at first sight, and it's real. I didn't know I would feel it, but it's in my way. Your stare was holding, ripped jeans, skin was showing. Hot night, wind was blowing. Where you think you're going, baby? Hey, I just met you, and this is crazy, but here's my number, so call me maybe. It's hard to look right at you, baby, but here's my number, so call me maybe. Hey, I just met you, and this is crazy, but here's my number, so call me maybe. And all the other boys try to chase me, but here's my number, so call me maybe. Before you came into my life, I missed you so bad, I missed you so bad, I missed you so, so bad. Before you came into my life, I missed you so bad, and you should know that I missed you so, It's hard to look right at you, baby, but here's my number, so call me maybe. Hey, I just met you, and this is crazy, but here's my number, so call me maybe. And all the other boys try to chase me, but here's my number, so call me maybe. Before you came into my life, I missed you so bad, I missed you so bad, I missed you so, so bad. Before you came into my life, I missed you so bad, and you should know
with some breaking news this hour. People in the Urals in Russia have seen burning objects raining down from the sky after a meteorite exploded above the Earth, causing a meteor shower.
To be honest, yeah, I think
It was like, no, it was so loud, yeah, like, everyone was just like...
No, he
like,
talks too much, the teacher talks too much.
No, he always tells about his lifestyle. Sure was bad, sure was bad.
I know. Oh, it's that. What is that? Take it.
Yes, take it. Scared, guys. It's okay.
What if it's just cold?
Fast, because if it explodes, I'm so scared, guys.
Should we tell it to the police?
No, don't tell it. No, why would you do that?
What if what if it just
might be dangerous.
Yeah.
No, we keep it for ourselves. Come on, let's walk fast.
Fair enough.
Yeah. That's how you have to think. We could. Okay? We do it.
Let him have the bag.
We do it. That's mine, you know. We do it.
It's not yours. It belongs to us. It's a parcel for our planet.
We're talking about powers.
What? It doesn't belong to you.
Okay, well, you're crazy, but we want our bags.
I'm taking this before this gets violent.
Walls of houses shaking, windows being blown out, cell phones even reportedly stopped working in some areas. Now we're still getting the details. Details are still slowly coming in from officials. But what we know so far is that schools are reportedly being evacuated. We're also hearing that a zinc factory was hit by a piece of the meteor, but no leaks reported so far. Now, this has caused widespread panic in at least 3 cities. Witnesses reported the walls of houses shaking, windows being blown out, cell phones even reportedly stopped working in some areas. Now, we're still getting the details. Details are still slowly coming in from officials, but
Hi guys. Okay. This is Alicia. She'll be joining us. So make her welcome. Sean, if you could just show Alicia the ropes, that'll be great. Thanks.
Hiya, I'm Sean. That was David. That's Greg over there. Come on in. It's the reception area. You got Alex? Just showing a new girl around. You could ask Alex if you need any letters written or that sort of thing. Next. It's a kitchen, fridge, you put your lunch in there, nothing in there. Yeah, that's about it. This is a staff room. Come in here for lunch, relax, whatever really. That's about it. This is a storeroom where they keep all the stuff, light bulbs, screws, nuts and bolts, nails, usual stuff. Yeah, just all that stuff. This is James, he's in charge of this department.
Hey.
Alright, just showing the new girl around.
Cool.
Don't show too much enthusiasm.
Hey.
I always wanted the world to myself. No government, no royalty, nothing. Shutting all the bad things out was hard for the dead side rising. Just another problem to add to the list. But when you have nothing, you start to appreciate what you had.
It's hard to believe they used to be human.
Get down!
I don't think we can trust him.
They're coming.
Calvin!
This is our extinction.
Teens across the globe are going crazy for the worldwide gaming phenomenon, Cerberus. Retail shops are going out of stock of this gaming sensation almost instantly. Created by a small company, Cerberus is all anyone can talk about right now. In the first week of sales, this newcomer has hit the gaming world by storm, becoming a big contender alongside international bestsellers.
Close your eyes. Count to three, and breathe. 1, 2,
3.
I don't know what you're talking about. I saw you in the shop. I know something's wrong with the game. No one needs to know about this.
There's nothing wrong. It's your fault you got us in the game.
Get off me, what are you doing?
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Shot in the Dark. I'm your host for today, Jack Rust. Our theme for the week, for absolutely no reason, is Cowboys versus Mexicans. Two teams will vie for the most prestigious prizes known to man, small toy plastic medals, since our budget doesn't allow for much else. Joining me in the studio today are two teams. We have the Mexicans and the Cowboys. Mexicans and Cowboys, would you like to introduce yourselves?
Hi, we're the Mexicans. My name's Lucy, and today I'm joined with Emily and Daisy.
Cowboys, would you like to introduce yourselves?
Hi, my name's Reese, and we're Team Cowboys. I'm here with Lucy and Ellie.
How are we all feeling today? Are we ready for the game?
We're ready.
Yes, very ready.
Yeah.
Ready. Confident. We're going to do this.
You
so
think you're going to win?
Watch out.
Do you have anything to say about that?
We're going to win.
You're going to win. Oh.
We're Cowboys anyway.
This is going to be tense.
Mm-hmm.
I can feel the tension.
How high can you jump?
We'll spit in her eye again.
With pinpoint accuracy.
Oh.
So let's get going with our first game, the duel. Now, helping us out with explaining today's games is none other than the bartender. Bartender, if you would be so kind.
Oh, hi, I didn't see you there. I'll tell you, this costume is really uncomfortable. Right, so these are the rules of the duel. One contestant from each team will step forward as you'll hear a tick-tock, tick-tock noise as the lights be drawn down. After a few moments of pure tension, you'll hear the word draw as the lights be drawn back up. The first person to draw their gun wins the point for their team. Best of luck to you both.
Teams, are you ready? Yes. Yep. We're going to go for a best of 3. Okay? Go. Draw! Oh, damn. I wonder who won that one. Please
Bravo,
reset.
bravo.
Best of 3.
Good try.
Please reset. Are you ready? Go. Draw! Oh, damn.
Oh, no. Oh,
It's just
senora,
got
yes.
tense.
Go, senora.
Please reset. It's one apiece. Contestants, are you ready?
Come on, Daisy.
Go on, Lucy.
Draw. Oh, go, sorry. Draw. Okay. So, winning that round with 1 point is the Cowboys. Well done.
Well done, Lucy.
Better luck next time. Good luck next time.
Oh, how are you feeling about being in front, this
Actually,
early
really
on?
good, yeah.
Really good. It feels good.
Well, my other weapon fell out, but sure.
How do you feel about being behind?
We're not worried.
You're not worried? You think you're going to pull it back?
Yeah,
It'll be
definitely.
okay.
Obviously.
We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. Don't get overconfident. That's a surefire way. Yeah. So at Havering College, we pride ourselves on our work. Please enjoy a collection of our work from the past year. Some great work there. So, on to our next round. This game is called Pin the Towel on the Burrow. Bartender, take it away.
Two contestants from each team will step forward. One will be blindfolded as they go up to a picture of a donkey. The blindfolded contestants will then be spun around by the other members of their team. Each blindfolded contestant will be given a towel with differing colours. The contestant that pins their towel closest to the specified part of the donkey wins their challenge for their team. Best of luck to both of you.
next contestant would you like to be blindfolded?
You are so close. Close enough.
I'll do the bandana.
Any time today would be nice, Reese.
Put it over her head. She can squeeze her head.
There we go. Ready?
Would you all like to take your seats once again? So, I think it's pretty clear who won that round by a landslide.
The Mexicans won that round. We won.
Yeah, we won.
I got it on the donkey. Is that all we know?
So, with 2 points, we have the Cowboys. Well done.
Well done, guys.
This is turned into a game that's really not close at all.
Yeah, what are you saying?
How confident are you that you are going to win, Cowboys?
Very confident.
Well, we don't know because we might lose in the next round.
That's
We
true.
don't know.
That's very true.
I mean, yeah, I mean, there's only 1 point left, so I mean, you could lose that and be 2-1. How do you feel about, being this far behind this late in the game?
You know, we've tried our best.
Is that true though?
Oh,
Is that
wow,
really
you give
true?
up already?
No, we never give up.
don't
Thank
give
you.
up.
Just
We came over the wall, yeah,
Oh.
for no reason.
But anyway, yes.
I knew I saw
we're-
your
you know,
faces before.
We're a good team, and regardless of we win or lose, we'll stick together, unlike those. So.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
That's so motivational.
So, we'll be back after a short message from a great sponsor of ours. And welcome back. It's been a great show so far. I want to give a big thank you to our great band for working with us and doing such a great job. So thank you very much. So let's get into our last game of the day. We call this one the Mexican Standoff. It's a big game. Bartender, if you would be so kind.
The last game is a big one, the Mexican Standoff. Each contestant is given a buzzer. A set of general knowledge questions are asked for any contestant to answer. To answer a question, each contestant must press their buzzer. The contestant with the most points at the end of the round wins a single point for their team. Best of luck to both teams.
Are you both ready? This is such a big game.
Yeah.
I'm shaking in my boot.
There's a snake in your boot.
There's a
No,
snake in
it's
my
not
boot.
Toy Story, for God's sake.
Would both sets of teams like to test their buzzers?
I would.
Oh, very
It's
nice.
a really loud buzzer. And
Wow.
Ours is better.
I do like the bell though. I'm not
I
gonna
prefer
lie.
the bell as well.
I like
That's
the
really
bell.
fake and artificial.
This is the future. That's the past.
Oh.
Just
You're
Okay.
Mexicans, you should be the past, we should be the future.
Damn.
Clearly
This
you're
is
not.
getting racial. So, let's play the Mexican Standoff. So, in round one, your topic will be cinema. So, question one. What is the highest grossing Western film? Brokeback Mountain, Django Unchained, Dancing with Wolves, or Home on the Range? Cowboys.
Django Unchained.
You would be right.
Oh, they got the points.
Question number two. Which of the following films had a Mexican director? Was it Jaws, E.T., Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, or Jurassic Park? Mexicans.
We think it's Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban?
It's almost as if you know these questions already.
Oh wow.
Oh, yeah.
Is it right?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Senora. Education back in Mexico.
So, on to round two. The topic for round two is music. Which hit by Shakira was number one for 2 weeks in 2006? Was it Whenever, Wherever, She Wolf, Hips Don't Lie, or Waka Waka? Cowboys.
We say hips don't lie.
You would be right. Well done.
Nice.
Favoritism.
So, on to the next question. Which of the following is a famous Mexican musician? Is it Bob Marley, Bruno Mars, Luis Miguel, or Pitbull? Mexicans.
Bob Marley.
Funnily enough, you're wrong.
Oh.
What? Oh.
Really?
Cowboys.
Is it Pitbull?
No.
No.
Right, over to you.
Oh.
Oh,
is it?
Oh.
Is it Luis Miguel?
You would be right.
Oh. Oh no.
Oh wait, that's obviously not the name. Obviously now.
So, on to round three. The topic for round three is celebrities. Question one. Who was the famous Western actor that starred in the 2004 box office hit $1 Million Baby? Was it Clint Eastwood, Bradley Cooper, Ryan Reynolds, or Tom Hanks? Cowboys.
Clint Eastwood.
Very right.
What is a celebrity?
On to the next question. Which out of the following celebrities is Mexican American? Is it Jennifer Lopez, Jake T. Austin, Selena Gomez, or Cameron Diaz?
Click them all.
Cowboys.
Is it Jake T. Austin?
You would be so wrong.
Oh really?
No.
Oh.
Oh, we have the answer.
Is it Selena Gomez?
That is right.
Oh.
So, both teams, would you like to take
Thank
your
you.
sheets
Thank
of
you very
paper
much.
for the next round? The question for this round is, which of the following photos is of Mexico City? Is it A, B, or C? Cowboys.
B.
That's correct.
Oh.
This is our home line.
Nice one.
The wall is not in the picture yet.
Cheating.
On to the fifth and final round. Your topic for this round is food. So, which is the Mexican food out of the following? Is it pancit, enchilada, kofta, or pisto? That was relatively quick.
Excuse me, it is enchilada.
That is correct. So, on to our final question. From the following food festivals, which one is held in Mexico? Is it Pizza Fest, Oktoberfest, Three Kings Festival, or the Cheltenham Wine Festival? Cowboys.
Three Kings.
That would be correct.
Woo! Bravo.
So, with the most points in that round,
They won all of the rounds.
they've won all of the rounds. Here are your winners, the Cowboys. Well done. Cowboys, would you like to take your prizes?
We got some great, beautiful orbs.
Have to forfeit.
Lovely orbs. I like it.
Losers, let me explain your forfeit. You will be singing a live, you will be singing a song in front of this lovely live audience and to those watching online.
What song?
This song right here. if I can get it right. Here we go.
Casey, I want to hear your singing voices. I want to hear my singing voice too.
So that's all we've got time for today. Thanks to our studio audience. That's all we've got time for today. Thanks to our studio audience and to those listening online. I've been your host, Jack Rust. I'll see you next time on Shot in the Dark. Thanks to our studio audience and to those watching online. This has been Shot in the Dark. I'll see you next time.
Hello, I'm Frederick Dove. Welcome to Havering College and to Havering Asks 2015. Promoting among students here in North East London an awareness of current affairs and, importantly, of the value of debate in a pluralist society, that is the aim of this event today. In addition, on a practical level, Havering students are getting hands-on experience of working in areas such as live television production and event management. Over the next hour or so, our panel will take questions from a live and hopefully lively audience composed of students from Havering College and other local schools. If you are watching via the live stream, you too can tweet comments and questions via hashtag HaveringAsks. That's hashtag HaveringAsks. Let me now introduce our guests. In next year's London Assembly elections, Ivana Bartoletti will be standing for Labour in Havering and Redbridge. Ivana works for the NHS, sits on the executive committee of the Labour Movement for Europe and chairs the Fabian Women's Network. Originally from Italy, Ivana became a British citizen this year and says she is passionate about London, which she has made her home. Environmentalist Craig Bennett has been involved in many campaigns, such as against fracking or to protect our disappearing bees. This year, he was appointed Chief Executive Officer of the campaign group Friends of the Earth. He's keen to take environmental causes out of a, quote, white middle-class ghetto, make them more relevant to other sections of society. Craig is one of two local boys on the panel. As a toddler, he went to the day nursery here at Havering College. Welcome back, Craig. And I gather you do not like white, warm wine.
No.
We might find out why later. Rania Hafez is a senior lecturer in education and community studies at the University of Greenwich. She's British Lebanese and the founding director of the network Muslim Women in Education. And she's a fellow of the Muslim Institute, which aims to promote pluralism and creativity and encourage open debate on issues involving Islam and Muslim communities. Since 2001, Andrew Rossendale has been the Conservative MP for Romford. In Parliament, he sits on the Foreign Affairs Select Committee. He wants the UK to leave the EU and is also particularly interested in issues relating to the Commonwealth, the British monarchy, and teaching British history in schools. Among his other interests are the British flag and animal welfare, two passions he combines by having a Union Jack waistcoat for his pet dogs. This is not just a rumour, this is true.
Absolutely true.
Absolutely true. Andrew is also very much a local boy. He was a student here when it was a technical college. So welcome back to you too, Andrew.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, our panel. Now, we'll try and get as many questions in as possible, but let's have the first one.
Lucy Mason, President of the Havering Students' Union. Malala has said, with guns, you can kill terrorists. With education, you can kill terrorism. Do you agree?
Malala Yousafzai, for anybody who doesn't know, is the Pakistani schoolgirl who was shot by the Taliban, nearly killed, should have died, didn't, survive miraculously, came to Britain for treatment, has recovered, has won the Nobel Prize, is a role model for many people. She said many things, but among them she said, with guns, you can kill terrorists. With education, you can kill terrorism. Right, let's go round the panel. Craig, I'm going to start with you.
Well, I think Malala's absolutely right. The evidence is very clear. Yes, of course, guns can kill terrorists, and terrorists can use guns to kill hundreds of innocent people as well. But actually, if we want to kill terrorism, if we want to stop terrorism, we've got to look at the root causes as to what drives it in the first place. And we've got to be really clear about the methods that will work to address terrorism. If you look at the root causes of the conflict in Syria at the moment, for example, how did it really kick off starting? Well, you can trace it back very clearly to the war in Iraq that was led by the US and Britain in the first place. That created the conditions that led to the creation of ISIS. You can also look at a proceeding of the National Academy of Sciences paper published earlier this year that showed that a 5-year drought in Syria caused by climate change also led to a great instability and unrest and has been seen to have been a contributing factor, not the cause of the rise of ISIS, but a contributing factor as well. So when we look at that context that's led to the rise of ISIS and the terrorism that stemmed from that then we feel so tragically in Europe and Paris just recently, it's absolutely clear that guns or indeed bombs won't solve terrorism there. They will perhaps exacerbate the situation and make it even worse. We need to have a much smarter response to these kind of world challenges. We have to understand that they're multifaceted. And we have to really address those root causes by trying to make society a much more stable place. And I think although David Cameron won the vote in Parliament this week, what was very clear evidence to me that he'd really lost the argument was when he started calling people, in what is a very complex issue, and we should respect opinions on all sides of this debate, but when he started calling people that opposed bombing of innocent people in Syria, when he calls them terrorist sympathisers, to my mind he might have won the vote, but he lost the argument.
Ivana Bartoletti.
Well, first of all, Malala is a wonderful, wonderful role model for all of us, and particularly for a younger generation. She's absolutely brilliant. And of course, how true that is. Education is absolutely important to me. I would like to live in a place where we say for every pound that we spend on defence, on army, on security, we spend £1 on culture and on education. Because education is absolutely important. And if we look at what happened in Paris, then what we see is actually those terrorists, most of them were French citizens and Belgian citizens, but what they wanted to attack was our lifestyle. Young people enjoying a night out, a Friday night out, and having fun, having a nice time. So education is crucial because it means that we really create those bonds that hold our communities together and educate the next generation of young people like what you're doing here. So I completely agree with that. Now, to fight terrorism is a very complicated thing that we have to do. And it encompasses many different things, which is soft power, diplomacy, military. But I do believe that the most important thing is education, education, and education.
But what do you do when you live in an area where if you send your daughter to a school because you're adamant that she should get an education, somebody might try and put a bullet in her brain?
Absolutely.
What do you do then?
What you do if
What do you do as a parent? Do you still force do you still put your child through education even if you know it could threaten her life?
No, absolutely, I agree. I agree that, it's difficult, but we have to fight for education for all, and particularly around the world. It really shows how important it is for young girls, and this is why Malala was speaking like that, how important it is for women in particular. But it's true, education is the best solution to make sure that we all are in it together as a community, as a country.
Andrew Rossendale.
Well, of course, if you want education and if you want to live in a decent country, in a free society, you have to defend it. History shows that if you defend your freedom and you protect your freedom, you can then bring up a generation of people that want to believe in good and the right values to live by. We live in a better society because of it. You can't appease terrorism, and you can't appease those who seek to take away the freedom that our forebears have fought so hard to defend. Our democracy in this country is not and should not be taken for granted. It's something that we've had to fight for. And of course, education is vital, but we've only got the education we have today because we fought for our freedom in past generations. So you do need strong defence, you do need strong security, and you do need weapons to protect our people and the safety of British citizens, both here in the United Kingdom and around the world. We in this country have a proud record of standing tall when our freedom has been threatened, when people are being butchered, as we see today, and when democracy is under threat. Britain stands firm and defends the right values that our country has always stood by. And that is why it is vital that we don't go down the route of appeasement. We don't go down the route of thinking we can take all these things for granted. We have to defend what we have.
Would you also, though, see education as a means of getting at the root causes of what threatens?
Who can disagree with that? You have to educate people about the right values, about our traditions, and why they work so successfully in this country, why we've had such a long history of rule of law, of democracy, of parliamentary traditions that have been adopted all the way around the world. Actually, we've got a proud history in this country, but it's only by educating people about it will people value what we've got and then want to defend it.
Before I go on to Rania Hafez, If you have a point you'd like to make, do put your hand up. It gives me a sign that I don't just throw a question into the room and nothing will come back. But if you have a question, a comment, please indicate it to me. I will try and come to you. But Rania Hafiz.
Malala was right, of course. Guns and bombs kill terrorists, but they also kill a lot of innocent people. And we can't forget the hundreds of thousands of Iraqis who were killed in a war that really was completely illogical, unfounded, and we have lived to know, to see, to actually experience the result of that foolish war in the Middle East. But yes, of course, education is important, and it doesn't just kill terrorism, it enlightens the mind. Education, and you are all here students, is really something you need to engage with in terms of what is it for, what are the aims of education. Education is about developing the citizen, and the citizen I want to develop is one who has deep knowledge of history. Of course, we need to know all history, our history in Britain, the history of others, because we can learn from history. But we also need to learn more science, as Craig alluded to before, so we can understand the world around us. But we also, to do that, we need two other things. One is freedom of expression and freedom of thought. And these are absolutely vital to maintain in education, but also we need to have critical thinking and understanding. We need to know how to use that knowledge, how to engage in debate and discussion. And we don't want just to go out there and give it to those underdeveloped and mad people abroad who are trying to kill us. Yes, we need the freedom of expression and thought in all education systems, but we also need them here in our education system. I am very concerned about the kind of lack of understanding, the ideas that are verging on racism in some parts, the lack of knowledge of the world around us that are here in our education system. And I speak to you as a senior lecturer in education. I have been teaching young people like you, I have been teaching your teachers for several decades right now. And what I want to see is our education system enlightening our minds so we understand our world, so we can go out there and make a real difference. I want to see freedom of expression and freedom of speech across our schools, our colleges, our universities, and only then can we go out to the rest of the world and actually tell them about our values, universal values we can all agree to, we can all fight for, and we can all be proud to say these are our values.
When you look around the world, do enough Muslim women have access to education?
As a fact, no, but that's not because of the religion. You can look at different parts of the world. So there are parts where there is a great poverty, and the lack of educational access is to do with poverty. Certainly there are places where it's not just to do, not just Muslims, Hindus, Buddhists, people of other faiths, Christians, even parts of Africa, where there is no access to education. So just to put the term Muslim in front of women is actually misleading.
I will point out you're the founding director of Muslim Women in Education.
I know, but I do that because it's a network for professional women to engage in the idea of rebuilding knowledge in education, not just faith in education. I'm very interested in faith. I'm interested in education and faith. But when I say faith and education, I don't mean about people having, prayer rooms. I mean actually believing in the power of education and fighting for education. Not just qualifications, not just papers, not just somebody who indoctrinates you. You have to be careful. You have to stand up to those in power who are trying to indoctrinate your minds. And you have to have the knowledge to actually fight back with your speech and your expression.
It's a huge subject, of course, and we could bounce around here for a little bit longer, but I think I want to go to the second question, which relates to this. It's something, obviously, post-Paris attacks. The second question comes from... Sorry, can you just repeat that for the microphone?
Joe Impet, Royal Liberty School. Should we expect an attack like Paris in London?
Thank you, Joe. Should we expect an attack like Paris in London? Ivana, you've made this city your home. And clearly very happy here. Do you feel threatened? Do you feel nervous?
Well, it's a very tricky question in terms of, well, we hope not. But of course, what we've seen not just in Paris, but what we've seen happening across the world really shows that we are a risk. And that's why it's important that we do what we can in many different ways to prevent this from happening. In Britain, this means that our intelligence needs to be ready for this. It's important that we share information across Europe, for example, and we do a lot of intelligence work and anti-crime work to make sure that we're ready in terms of we're doing all what we can do to monitor the situation. Of course, in order to tackle this, resolving the situation in Syria is absolutely important. And to do that, there is a number of things that we need to do. Of course, there's been a vote in Parliament for military action for airstrikes. There is also soft power and diplomacy that we need to use. We need to talk and work together with other European countries, like particularly after what happened in France. We need to work together with other, with Russia. We need to work together with Turkey. There's a lot that we can do on an international level, on a diplomatic level, to make sure that we look at the root causes in Syria and across the world where the problem arises. But we also have to look inside us, in here, and make sure that so we have all the tools in place to make sure that what you said doesn't happen here in the UK and in our city in particular.
Let me, before I go around the panel, there's an arm up, and I'd just like to hear the contribution. Wait for the mic. There we go.
Vincent Yardley from the Royal Liberty School. And you were saying about preventing, but I've been told that ISIS have said that they're going to bomb us now because we've bombed them.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen what happened in Paris, and it's not just, it didn't happen just in Paris, Vincent. It's happening in, is Vincent your name? Did you say Vincent? Yeah, it's happening everywhere. There are people who live under the threat of terrorism every day in other parts of the world. So, of course, it is a threat, and we have to be careful. So prevention is important, and that's why, for example, I work in an organisation which is called NHS Counter Fraud and Security, and what we do is we work together with other organisations and we share information. Sharing information, working together with other countries is very, very important, because then we really need to do, our intelligence needs to be really up to this for this game, and it's important that we do that. So we need to do this at home, we need to work with other countries, and we need to solve the situation overseas. And we need to solve the situation in Syria, because Syria has been a major issue. You've seen that on the papers recently. It's been a major issue over the last 4 years.
Let me go around the panel, and then maybe we'll come back to you in a moment. But Rania, this question of should we expect an attack like Paris in London?
We should be prepared. I'm scared, like everybody else. And not just from living in London. I'm also, as Fred, when he introduced me, said, I'm Lebanese British, I'm Lebanese Londoner. I've been living here 33 years in London, but I come from Beirut, and the day before Paris, my hometown, was also attacked by ISIS. And 47 people died, and over 200 were injured. Some of them subsequently died. And when I was in Lebanon over a year ago, ISIS had already infiltrated. And I know there are operatives of ISIS there, as well as other groups. We might not hear of them, because ISIS are so good, unfortunately, at using the media. So yes, I am scared. I'm scared because I take airplanes. I'm scared because of the Russian airplane that was downed over Egypt. There is more fear. But what do? Do we stop our way of life? No, we don't, because then the terrorists will have won. What we have to do is support each other, be more cohesive as a community, but also support our armed services, our police, support the agents of the state who are actually trying to keep us safe. I'm not here to say, no, that they are anti-us. No, they're not. So hopefully we put our trust in the forces of law that we have to keep us safe, but we look out for each other. I use the trains, the tubes in London every day, so do my children who live and work in London. I want us all to be safe. So hopefully we are going to be vigilant, but not in a way that excludes anyone else or leads to racist attacks against people. That's one of my worries. We have found that since the Paris attacks, the incidence of Islamophobic attacks have risen in London and in Britain generally. That is sad. That is really, really sad, because it's not, in this case, it's not about religion. We're all potential targets of these terrorists. We all have to be together to make sure that they are defeated.
Craig Bennett?
clearly we have to be ready to expect terrorist attacks in London. We've had them before, and sadly, probably it's only a matter of time until they will happen again. And as Ronnie was correctly said, you know, this isn't just Paris. This is in the same week as the Paris attacks. There were appalling, tragic attacks in both Beirut and also Baghdad as well. Of course, the ones in Paris get more media attention, but I mean, right around the world we see these kind of attacks. I think there is an important couple of things to say in this, though. First of all, if we let this affect our way of life, then that is really appeasing terrorists. So, you know, none of us are in favour of appeasement of terrorists, so we shouldn't let it change our way of life. And it's worth reflecting there that actually the chances of being caught up in a terrorist attack are so much smaller than many other things that we go on in life that we don't change our way of life about. According to the government, for example, air pollution kills 50,000 people in this country prematurely, and yet we don't see many measures by the government to change our way of life there to deal with air pollution. But an important thing, Andrew was saying there about our proud history of democracy, and he's absolutely right. And I think it's worth reflecting that in Paris right now, there's the climate talks taking place. And last weekend, there was going to be a mass mobilisation of hundreds of thousands of people to call on governments to act on climate change in Paris. And sadly, that was cancelled by the Paris authorities because of that. And I think that's unfortunate. I understand that would have been a complex decision for the security services in Paris. But I mean, the moment you start banning public mobilisations, then you are letting the terrorists win. I will be going over to Paris on Monday. I'll be in Paris the whole of next week to be part of those climate talks. Friends of the Earth will be taking thousands of our supporters to Paris next weekend for demonstrations that we're now doing inside with the support of the French authorities as a way of standing in solidarity with the people of Paris and standing up to terrorists. And that's what we have to do in these circumstances. Yes, the threats are real, but we have to continue on with our way of life and proudly keep participating ever more vigorously than before in democracy.
I'm going to move swiftly on because we'll try and get another question before the break. But Andrew Rossendale.
Well, I agree with everything that's been said, and the simple answer to your question is yes. Not only do we expect the likelihood of a terrorist attack on the streets of the UK, possibly London or anywhere, it could happen at any place, to be honest. Not only do we expect it, we've already had it. Of course, remember 7/7, 10 years ago, when the bombs were let off on the Underground and one of the buses as well, and over 50 people were killed on that terrible day. Only a couple of years ago, we had the incident of Lee Rigby being murdered at Woolwich by a young person who had been indoctrinated. He was a Christian, but he was indoctrinated. He actually came from Havering. He lived in Romford, and yet he killed Lee Rigby. So there are already incidents that have taken place, and I would like to put on record my thanks to our security services, because they do a magnificent job in preventing terrorist attacks from taking place. There are lots of attacks that would have occurred had it not been for the incredible job that our security services do to prevent these from happening and finding the people before they actually commit those evil acts against innocent people.
It's obviously a huge issue of our time. We could spend the whole hour, I think, on this topic, but I will move on because I want to get one more question in. Let's have our third question.
Hi, I'm Ryan Carter from Havering College, and I'm a games design student. What's the most you'd pay for a plastic bag?
Okay, just in case you didn't hear that, thank you, Ryan, for the question. A Havering student there. The question is, what's the most you would pay for a plastic bag? I know it's a very different topic. 5p, if you're not careful, in a shop now, since the new rules came in. Craig, surprise, surprise, Friends of the Earth, I'm going to start with you. How much would you be prepared to pay for a plastic bag?
Well, it depends on the circumstance, doesn't it? If you get caught out and you have to do an emergency shop on the way back from the station, you don't have a bag on you, then you'll be prepared to pay quite a bit. But if you're going to the shop and you've been planning to go to the shop, then you should take your bags with you so that you don't have to pay. So it's as simple as that. I mean, obviously what's behind this question is the levy that's come in recently of 5p for a plastic bag, and that's something that Friends of the Earth campaigned for very vigorously. We campaigned for it first in Wales, and we won it there in Wales, and it's been operating there for 5 years. And actually what it's done is it's cut plastic bag use by around 90%. It's proved incredibly popular. 3/4 of the Welsh population, 5 years after it's been in place, strongly support it. The vast majority of businesses and retailers strongly support the plastic bag levy. And did you know that it's estimated by the government that this levy will actually save the public purse £800 million a year as a result of this? But at a time when we're trying to cut public expenditures...
How is the cost?
Because of the cost of local authorities and government agencies having to clear up the litter of billions of plastic bags.
So it's not the money raised, it's the money saved in not clearing up.
Yeah, the money raised is a different thing. But actually, this plastic bag levy, by cutting the use of plastic bags and cutting the billions of plastic bags that litter all around our country, and particularly on our coasts, this will save local authorities across this country and central government agencies around £800 million in clearing it up. One startling statistic I'll give you of seabirds. If you look at seabirds around our shores, 93% of them, if they're dissected, contain plastic in their stomachs at the moment. This is the only thing that's been wrong about this levy on plastic bags is that it's taken far too long for England to introduce. Other countries have had it for years. If you ever watched Friends in the 1990s, you'd be familiar that New York has had it for decades. Plastic bags, the British, the English love affair with plastic bags is really quite bizarre, and it's been long overdue that we bring in such a levy.
Rana, let me come to you. Let me put a spin on the question. Not just, how much would you be prepared to pay for a bag, but what do the Italians do?
I was going to say that because my view on this is that it's a great thing to do, to introduce that, because I went to when I was your age, I was living in Italy, and then I went to university in Germany for a bit, and both countries, they have that. People pay for their plastic bags, so people recycle their bottles of their glass bottles, and it actually, gradually, it does change the attitude that we have, because then, you start bringing
like Craig said, you go out prepared.
Exactly, you start bringing your own bag when you go shopping. And at the beginning, people say it's a bit annoying, isn't it? But then it changes the public attitude, which is what we want, really. So when I was in Italy, I remember that I was your age, and that's what we had to do. And I remember that we as students, we used to have, when we our plastic bags or other kind of bags with us and use them. So I think it's a very simple thing. I agree, it's taken a long time to introduce. It's a very simple thing, and it saves a lot, so it's great.
Andrew,
well, there's
5p enough?
There's nothing to disagree about, really. I think clearly a plastic bag costs money to produce. We are consumers. We want to use the plastic bag. We should pay the cost of that bag. And obviously, it's an incentive for us to only take bags that we're going to use and not just take, before we would just take as many bags as we want without thinking about it. Now we have to pay a small amount. And so you think, do I need that bag? And what Craig has said is absolutely right. It's going to save money in terms of not clearing up all these plastic bags that are floating around our streets and countryside and shores. I mean, this is just common sense. So I'm happily in favour of that.
Apologies for going off on this tangent, but as a dog owner, when you go for walkies, does it apply to those bags?
Well, I mean, you use whatever bag you want to use, don't you? So, if you take your dog for a walk and you need to clear something up, then you can take one of the 5p bags that you've purchased the day before. You can use them.
Worth it.
They can be
for
used
the
for
love
two
the dogs
purposes.
give you, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
Before I go to Rania, I just want a show of hands briefly. You in this room here, just a show of hands. Put your hand up if you think 5p for a plastic bag is perfectly okay because of what it represents.
That's great.
That's very encouraging, Craig, I would say. The next generation is fully on board. Yeah. Rania.
I'm afraid you're going to boo me out of the room, and Craig is going to hit me in a minute because I'm against it. And the reason I'm against it, is because when I go to my local Morrison's, I shop at Morrison's, maybe I'm supposed
Other
to say
supermarkets are available.
At my local supermarket, there's a big sign that says, the money that is raised will be given to charity. I don't need to be, I don't need to give 5p to Morrison's for them to decide which charity to support on my behalf. I wouldn't have a problem if I was actually paying for the value of the bag. But in this case, it is a kind of a stealth tax that is trying to make us virtuous, whereas virtue has to be an act that you actively and consciously engage in. And I speak as a person of faith. The same way I wouldn't want to force my faith on anyone or force anybody to pray or fast or do anything, because there's no virtue in forcing people to do an act of virtue. There's no virtue in it in actually forcing people. So if supermarkets want to charge the value of the bag and actually take that money, that is far more transparent.
So it's not the 5p you complain, it's the fact that you're supposed to be virtuous about it. It's
well, the fact that I don't want them to charge me money so they can give to charity. If I want to give to charity, I'll give to charity.
So you'd rather Morrison's... what the alternative is?
Okay.
The alternative is the money raised goes to the central government, which then they use to pay for bombs.
I'd rather it goes to central government, because they, at the end of the day, we are in a democracy, we've voted for the government, and they are accountable to us.
Okay.
And that's my view on that. So I'm talking in terms of liberty. I'm actually, funny enough, a libertarian. And I believe in individual liberty, and I believe that when it comes to this, it's up to the individual to support charities when they wish. I don't wish to be forced to do it behind my back. Yes, I will pay the cost of the bag, and tell you the truth, I have a handbag which is not leather, it's plastic, and costs £200. So sometimes I can pay a lot for a plastic bag.
Before we go to the break, some arms up in the audience. That young chap there in the second row, please. Hang on, just wait for the boom mic to get to you. Sorry, the next one along. Sorry, I'll just go along.
And I'm from the Royal Liberty School. I agree on your decision of plastic bags that it should cost 5p. I've been to Tesco before, and they've increased the quality in the plastic bags. So if they've increased the quality in plastic bags by making it thicker, isn't it a bit bad, because people still forget to bring plastic bags, so it would pollute a bit more.
So the bags are thicker now because people are paying for them. Craig Bannett, doesn't that kind of negate the environmental benefit?
Well, the idea is that they're bags that last, and people then use them several times. That's the idea.
So you can, it's better for recycling.
But, it will be important to monitor, how public companies behave and respond to this over the next year ahead. I'd like to see more companies introduce bags for life that aren't made out of plastic and instead made out of recycled paper and so on, as, again, we have in many other countries.
Right. That's where I'm afraid we're just going to have to take a short break, but do join us again in a few minutes.
August 18, 2012.
I'm tired. No, I think I'm losing my mind. Found my next victim. Her name is Sarah. seems to be getting easier as days go by. They seem so sweet and innocent, but I know what they deserve. No one's have caught wind for my misgivings yet, and no one ever will. I'll see to it.
I don't want to point any fingers, but a couple of them evidence bags were missing. Okay, I got an idea who it could be.
This won't stop me. I will kill again.
Welcome back to the second part of Havering Asks 2015. I'm Frederick Dove. With me here at Havering College is a panel of guests answering questions from an audience of local students. We'll try and squeeze more questions in during the second half. The first half was very interesting, but we'll try and get it in before the half hour is up. So let's take our next question, which comes from...
School. I have the question, is apprenticeships better than going to university?
The question is, are apprenticeships better than university? So obviously, a question that kind of harks at university fees. Let's go around the table rather quickly. Craig, apprenticeships versus university?
I think that all depends on the individual. I think both are incredibly valuable. Clearly, university is a fantastic thing for many people to do, as that kind of education that absolutely takes them through into sort of adulthood and sets them up for the rest of their career. But apprenticeships will suit many people much better, and apprenticeships are something that absolutely gives that sort of on-the-work training that is so valuable for many people. We have some apprenticeships at Friends of the Earth and paid internships and so on. And these are, it's really exciting to see young people coming in and learning how to campaign, learning about politics, learning how to influence people. Incredibly exciting. So I would say, you can't say one's better than the other. I'd say both are really valuable, and it's important, you know, young people consider both those options and choose the ones that's best for them.
Rania.
They should be equivalent. They should be the same. They should have parity of esteem. They should have the same value. Unfortunately, no government to this date has really invested enough in our apprenticeships. So it's not like the apprenticeships you get in Germany or in other countries in Europe, where you are actually given the depth of knowledge, the real support from employers, the support from local colleges to actually really develop your skills and your knowledge, so you have a background that is really marketable in the future. I feel that we have failed our young people when it comes to apprenticeships, and I worked in further education for over 15 years, and I taught teachers for FE, and I really wish I could say, you know, yes, they are the same. And unfortunately, we're doing the same to our universities. We are starving them of funds the same way we have done with our apprenticeships. So apprenticeships and universities should be equivalent. They should have the same value, but we should invest in them more, not just in terms of money, but in terms of the knowledge needed. Young people need a solid background of knowledge before they go out into the world. And just to say, oh, we're going to teach you a few skills and then go out and get a job is really selling you short.
Rania, let me just ask you something, because you work in tertiary education. Do you sometimes have, no names please, but do you sometimes have students in front of you who would have done better at 18 or at 19 getting an apprenticeship rather than spending 3 years at an educational institute?
No, because I don't think it's different. I don't think you need different skills for them.
But are some people better suited to one than the other?
I don't think so, because there are different pathways. A university education should be more about the intellectual development of the individual, and anyone should be able to enter into it. Apprenticeship should be about both the intellectual development in a particular vocational discipline, supported by practical skills. We don't have the kind of apprenticeship that I would send any young people to, frankly. I wish we did. And I would like to see a government that's really committed to really supporting a strong knowledge base of apprenticeships and forcing companies to really provide proper apprenticeships where young people are actually properly rewarded for the time and effort they put into them.
Ivana?
Well, I think there's a problem with both. I mean, the problem with apprenticeships is that there's not enough of them. And sometimes they're not what they should be. And so I would like to see much more of them, so there is much more of a choice. And a lot of businesses should offer real, high-quality, paid apprenticeship for young people. So to me, there's a problem with that. And there is a problem with university because it costs too much money. And I'm afraid that, you know, £9,000 a year to go to university is a joke. It's too expensive. And particularly if you live in London and, you know, you've got a family living in London and you're paying a lot on housing, and then you've got young people to put through university, it's too expensive. And I see, unfortunately, when I take my 10-year-old son to school, I see that in the morning that the parents tell me, how am I going to get my son or my daughter through university? It's not good enough that people have got to pay so much money and they have to start their working life with huge debt. So we need to make sure that there are more apprenticeships for young people, and we need to make sure that universities and college is more affordable for people. And there's no one is better than the other ones. It depends on what you want to do as a student, as a young person, but you shouldn't be forced into one or the other because of how much money your mum and dad have got in their bank account. To me, that is the most important thing.
Andrew, let me put a spin on this for you. For the British economy, are apprenticeships better than university, or does it not matter?
Well, let's get back to the basic reason why someone goes to university or someone takes an apprenticeship. It's because it gives you the training you need and the knowledge and the ability and the skills that you need to go out into the real world, to work and to earn a living so you can provide for yourselves and your families. Now, for too long, particularly under the government of Tony Blair, everyone was told everyone's got to go to university. Nobody was concerned about the cost, where the money was coming from to pay for all these universities and all these university places. Neither was it emphasised the importance of going to university for a purpose. So people just went just to tick a box. Far too many people, even now I think, far too many people are going to university just because it's the thing to do, not because it's actually necessarily going to lead to a good job at the end of it. Too many people go to university and they finish up not getting a good job at the end of it. They don't study the right things that's going to lead to employment and a career path for them when they finally leave. So that's right that the current government have re-emphasised the importance of apprenticeships and have brought them back, and tens of thousands of young people are now getting the opportunity of real apprenticeships, which are going to lead, hopefully, to good jobs. But at the end of the day, whatever we do when we leave school and college, whether we go to university, whether we do an apprenticeship, whether we go into the armed forces, or whether we go into a family business, whatever we do, it's up to us to make the best of our lives. It's up to us to work hard. It's up to us to incentivise ourselves. It's no good sitting here and saying, well, the government should provide this and they should give us that. That's not the way the world works.
Isn't the government now talking
to work ourselves.
Isn't the government now talking of, if you want to join the police force, they're talking of making that a degree level career?
Well, absolutely.
And that's pushing people back into university.
Well, I think that it depends how you analyse these things. But I think that far too many young people have been going to university which haven't been leading to a proper career at the end of it. And I think we do need to provide all sorts, because we're all different. You know, some people are very academically minded, they want to go to university. Others are not so, they're more practically minded, want to do practical things. And there's nothing wrong in that. We're all different, we're all made differently, we've all got particular skills in different directions. So we need to try to provide a multitude of different opportunities for our young people to develop in their own way. But at the end of the day, it's up to us to work hard and to be successful in life. It's not down to the government to provide everything anymore. We have to think for ourselves, provide for ourselves, and be ingenious, because if we are, then we will make something of our own lives, and that's ultimately down to us.
I'm going to press on with the next question. It comes from Erhan Aksu of the Oaks Park School. Erhan.
Erhan Aksu, Oaks Park High School. Should Britain stay in the European Union?
Should Britain stay in the European Union? Rania, I'm asking you, particularly with perhaps also your Lebanese hat on, a kind of different perspective as well as your British hat.
It's a difficult question to answer, and I'm not fudging it because I've been thinking a lot about it. Originally, I was very pro the EU simply because I'm an internationalist. I'm Lebanese, I live in London, I grew up in the Middle East and in the United Arab Emirates. You know, I actually feel like I live without borders. I don't define myself by a particular nationality. And I felt that the European model was actually a good model to follow, that it was bringing people together in shared values, kind of values that could be seen as universal values. We were taking the borders down. I also believe in no borders. Because I'm a nomad, I've moved around. So I was really very much in support of the European Union. What has concerned me recently is what seems to be the lack of democracy at the heart of the European Union. And I'm thinking in particular about Greece and the problems that Greece faced, and the fact that the power of the banks and the power of financial capital seem to take precedence of democratic rights and the rights of people. So I am now rethinking that. I'm rethinking it because I also believe in the liberty of individuals and the fact that we need to have our decisions made collectively by us. And I don't know how much the European Parliament and the European Union is actually reflecting that collective local decision making. So I'm keeping my options open. I want to listen more to the debate on this, but I'm getting more towards the fact that maybe the European Union is going down the wrong road and maybe it needs to be stopped and redirected again.
So as regards the referendum we might have next year or the year after, you're a floating voter?
Currently, I'm floating more towards the no. I don't want to be in the European Union unless the European Union changes goes back to the origins of what it was supposed to be about, which is about really collective responsibility and democracy.
Craig Bennett.
I think we should stay in the European Union. I think in an ever more globalised world, I think what we need to see is ever more collaboration between countries. There are so many problems that the humanity is going to face in the 21st century that we need to solve through collaboration between different nation states. It won't surprise you that for me one of the top of them is the environment. You know, the environment knows no borders. You can't solve something like climate change by one country acting alone. You have to try and get countries to work together. And the European Union over the many decades has been very effective at introducing environmental legislation at an EU-wide basis that helps us to deal with pollution control issues. And it wouldn't make so much sense to do it just at the issue of the nation state. Now, having said all that, you know, Rani is right on a number of things where actually at times the EU has been really problematic. We've seen on the Common Agricultural Policy, for example, that has not been good for the environment overall. And I have been very concerned how in the last few years the talk of trying to see of the EU just purely as a market, you know, loses the point that it's about a better future for our citizens.
You mentioned the Common Agricultural Policy. Just as an example, can you give an example of where the EU, I mean, waste is one thing that Friends of the Earth probably abhors. Give us an example of the kind of waste that people accuse the Common Agricultural Policy of producing.
Well, the problem about the Common Agricultural Policy is it results in huge taxpayer payments to farmers to produce more food than we need, and that results in food waste. And often that food is being produced in a way that damages the environment. That's the short version of the story. And so that's a real problem where we've not seen the EU acting in the interest of citizens. What we need to do to get the EU back on track is to act in the interest of the people of Europe, not in the interest of special interest groups or like perhaps one sector like farmers, not just in the interest of business, not in the interest of any one state in particular, but to look at the overall, what's in the interest of the people and citizens of the EU as a whole. And that clearly means protecting the environment first and foremost. I remember when I was a child, you know, it was quite common to see sewage on beaches in Britain. And successive British governments failed to do anything about this, and fortunately, then we had EU legislation that cleaned up our beaches. So, and I really fear that if you don't have that kind of collaboration on issues like the environment that comes about because of the EU, then we will see a worsening life. But we have to get the EU back on track and putting citizens first and companies second.
Andrew Rossendale, I imagine that some of what you've heard you're very much in agreement with.
Well, the reality is that the European Union has been pretty much a disaster for this country.
Apart from the beaches, maybe.
Well, actually, everything that has been mentioned, which is supposedly good about the EU, we could do that in any case, bilaterally, with any country we choose. And Craig has hit the nail on the head. He said environmental issues have no boundaries. So why are we creating an EU boundary? Switzerland is not in the EU, so does the environment affect Switzerland or Norway or all the other countries in Europe that are not in the EU? Of course it does. So what we've got with the EU is a political union. And what that means is that slowly but surely all of the powers are being centralised away from the democratic nation states like the United Kingdom. We are losing control over our democracy, our laws, and our ultimate destiny. At the same time, we're not able to sign trade agreements with countries with whom we've had a long history with. Now, Mr. Modi, the Prime Minister of India, was here only 3 weeks ago to meet Mr. Cameron. Mr. Cameron is not allowed to sign a trade deal with India because we've given up the right to do so. So the Commonwealth can't trade with them anymore. Bilaterally, we have to do a deal only via Brussels. We were told when we joined that it was a common market, okay, about trade. Now, I think most people in this country are happy to have trade with Europe and cooperation with Europe, but we don't have that. We have a political union. So practically half of our laws, I mean, people vote for an MP to make laws, but I can tell you, half of them we don't because they're imposed on us by the EU. So we can't globally cooperate like we would like to do because we're tied to EU laws. And we all know the reality is the EU was a post-war project that Germany and France wanted to create. It's out of date, and we've got to go global. And one final thing, Europe is a massively decreasing market. 65% of our trade was with European Union 10 years ago. It's now 45% and dropping massively. Our future markets are the whole world, and that's where we've got to be. While we're stuck in the EU, we will never be able to realise the need to trade globally, and that's going to be important for all of our futures.
Should Britain stay in the European Union?
Well, it's a very relevant question for you guys because it's about your future. And that's the first thing I want to say, is that whether Britain remains part of Europe or the European Union is the most important decision that this country will make for a generation. And that's why I really wanted and still want 16-year-olds to take part in that vote, because this is about your future. Now, should we stay in Europe? Yes, we should. And the reason why we should stay in Europe is because we are an out-facing country, because we want to protect British jobs, because we want factories like Nissan that makes cars to continue to invest in this country, because we want to tackle the big issues of today, whether it's terrorism, crime, environment. We want to tackle them together, because to me, Europe is all about achieving together what we cannot achieve on our own as a country. It doesn't mean that we cannot make deals with other countries. It doesn't mean that we cannot go global. It means that there are some issues that we can deal with together with other European countries. And it is about the kind of country you, as a young generation, feel proud to live in. What country? A country which is open to the world, a country that opens up and says there are major things that we need to face together. We face them with other countries. We want to protect jobs. We want to, if we want to, go and study in another country like people do to programs like the Erasmus. They go and study in other universities or in other colleges, which is great, a great thing to do. It's about what kind of country you want to live in. But this is a lot about young people. This is about your future. So do please debate these issues because it's absolutely important. And can I just ask one thing? There are many things that you see about Europe that you don't like. But the answer is not to leave. The answer is to change it. And we can change it if we are all doing this together. Particularly you and young people. You are the ones who can say to Europe and European leaders, starting from David Cameron, going to Angela Merkel in Germany and say, we want Europe to work for people and for young people in particular.
Ivana, let me move on because we want to get one more question in. But very quickly, and I don't want you to indicate how you would vote, but if you were able to vote, if you're younger than 18, would you vote in the European referendum, yes or no? If you could vote. would you care one way or the other how the vote would go? In which case, would you take part? Hands up if you do. Well, so, a response there. Don't want to know which way you vote. That's between you and the ballot box if you come to vote. Now, we've got time for another question, and I want to get it in. It comes from Rosetta Sullivan, who is at college here, who is at Havering College here. Rosetta, where are you?
Hi, I'm Rosie Sullivan. I'm a media student. What are your British values?
Just say that again.
What are your British values?
What are your British values? And just to say that educational establishments, schools, colleges have an expectation now that they promote British values, teach the respect of it. They include democracy, the rule of law, individual liberty, mutual respect and tolerance of those of different faiths and beliefs. Those are the fundamental. But the question is, what are your British values? Andrew?
Well, I believe that we come from a very proud tradition of peoples. British peoples have created a society which, quite honestly, is the envy of so many countries around the world. We have democracy, we have a stable constitution, we have the rule of law, we have the English language, we have an attitude of tolerance towards everybody. We are more welcoming people from other countries than many other countries would be. We created and we have